Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Everything EPL, your one stop for all the Premier League action, every team, relegation battle, top four, and title if we ever have one again this season. We don't know yet. We're still waiting for City to slip. Arsenal favors for top four. We all think so. And we have here Egal, who is the Arsenal fan here today to tell us all about Arsenal, their chances to make it top four. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
We're doing okay. Rakesh, Liverpool, you guys are in a title chase to catch Man City. If you guys can, we're all gonna cheer you up for it.
We'll do our best, man. We'll do our best. We'll do it for ourselves, and if you guys want to cheer us along, then fair enough. I can imagine some rivals may not, but it is what it is. We'll do our best.
I'm not sure who's in the so I'm gonna start this with one question: who's in the Premier League would not want Liverpool at least to challenge City? Because Liverpool's forget Everton, they're irrelevant now in in the whole situation. To be honest, I'm sorry for every Everton fan. Yes, you got Lampard, but you're not doing anything that to make me like think that you're gonna make any effect in this league somehow other than beating Arsenal 2-1 earlier this year. So anybody would want City to win the league. Even Manchester would not want City to win the league. I would they prefer Liverpool to win the league, guys?
Rakesh, you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, man. I don't. No self-respecting Manchester United fan would want Liverpool to win the league. Like I know, obviously, there within the city of Manchester, there's a intercity rivalry. But bear in mind, if we win the league, then that means that we go on to 20 joint with Manchester United as well. I can't imagine that being being something that and yeah, and outside Manchester, I don't think, just like my rivalry with Everton, being a Londoner, I don't have that same rivalry on a personal basis because I don't know many Everton fans. Whereas if you're in the city of Liverpool, you're in the heart of the city. It's the city's 50-50 or whatever. It's a different story. Everyone's going to school and going to, my main rivals when I was growing up were Manchester United fans. So and Arsenal fans and Chelsea fans to some extent. So I can't imagine Chelsea fans would want us to win the league. But the others, maybe, I don't know. Let's ask Egal. Egal might have a different opinion.
I'll tell you this right now. There's some people who don't want Man City's dominance, but I prefer Man City to win. I don't really care if Liverpool do win or don't win. But one thing I do like, I like competitiveness. I would love for it to be a little bit more competitive because I want it for the spectacle. But to actually say I want Liverpool to win, I really don't care who wins out of Liverpool City. As long as it's not Manchester United, Chelsea, or Tottenham, I really don't care. And this whole rivalry Liverpool are trying to create with everybody else, honestly, I don't view Liverpool as a rival. I feel like they're another team that is just out there that we're competing against, but we're not really like arch rivals. So I don't care.
Yeah.
I think
I
the only teams, right? I think the only team that actually consider other than Everton for City rival thing is only Manchester United. I don't think anybody else, even City fans, think that Liverpool, yes, they are like whatever. They are the people who challenge us for the title, but there's no rivalry. There's nothing.
Literally for social media purposes, I see everyone getting on to everybody, but realistically, if you look at it and you say to yourself, who are actual rivals? I don't think you can consider anybody bar Everton and Manchester United rivals to Liverpool. We have history, but I wouldn't say we're rivals.
see. The only thing I'd say with City and Liverpool over recent years, there's been a feeling amongst Liverpool fans and this has kind of been borne out, like also in the upper echelons of the clubs, like the way the clubs are managed, that obviously the whole financial fair play, financial doping and stuff that City have been accused of. Liverpool, as a club, have been a big part of that, and I think that obviously gets on City's nerves, and City. It's in some way it's like if City weren't there, we'd have a period of dominance. But City are so dominant, and the feeling is amongst Liverpool fans to some extent that maybe they're cheating to some extent in terms of financially. So yeah, there's that stuff. But historic rivalry is different. It's Manchester United and Everton.
Okay. Since we're talking about Man United, there's only one place to start. Before I do that, please, if you're watching this, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to this in any of the audio platforms, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or Anchor, please rate us on that platform to help us expand. One place to start. I'm gonna start with Egal on this one. Man United. one half, decent chances. Ronaldo flopped, did not score. It was kind of strange to me that he did not even put the easier ones in when we know that maybe he doesn't move enough, but the only thing that the guy still has in his bag is putting the ball in the back of the net when he gets a chance. So if he doesn't do this, what is he good for? I don't know. I'm a big fan of Ronaldo's ethics, work ethics, and everything that he did for the game. But at this point, the guy is not doing enough for him to stay on the field. Southampton, Ralph Hasenhuttl, a lot of respect. I said that in every place I go. This guy, give him a better squad. I think he will do wonders with players because he made someone like Romeo a really good player. He made someone like Armstrong a really good player, which is something that was not expected, even though he loses nines and stuff. But they play really good football. Egal, let me know why Man United are so shit after the break. Before the break, they're okay, but after the break, is it a coaching problem? Is it an ego problem? Is it a player's problem? Do these players want the manager out? Just let me know. What are you thinking when you see Man United like this?
There's no harmony in the dressing room. That's what it is. From when you're hearing leaks about players saying that there's unrest, agents coming out saying they wanted their player to be transferred in the January transfer window. You have the whole situation with Martial, the whole situation with Jesse Lingard. We don't, and nobody knows what's going to happen with Pogba. It's just continuous unrest with Manchester United and their current setup. So I definitely do believe that it has more to do with that than anything else. The number one issue for me at Manchester United is the unrest in the dressing room. Is Cristiano Ronaldo unhappy? I don't know. I'm not being speculative when I say this, but there's continuous murmurs that they are not happy with the coaching method. They're not happy with Ralph Ragnick. They're not happy with the direction of the club. They're not happy with this. They're not happy with that. Certain players have not signed new contracts. So I personally put it down to the dressing room. And I think that's one thing that a lot of other teams have an advantage over Manchester United. It seems like their dressing room is a little bit fractured.
So, Rakesh, how to avoid having Ronaldo on the lineup? Who would they play? How would they play without a forward? Because Cavani, I see him and I see the same as Ronaldo.
It's a difficult one, right? Because United have a squad which, individually, player for player, you think, okay, this is something to build on. I think a lot of us, including me, thought that they could potentially be up there challenging. I also thought they would potentially be one of the teams that could challenge for the European Cup, the Champions League this season. Potentially, maybe an outside chance, but they have some good players, and I think there was also a limited number of teams that could potentially win the Champions League. And as it's turned out, they're absolutely atrocious. And it's come as a bit of a surprise, but it really does. What it really demonstrates is you can have all the great individuals that you want, but you need to have a collective more than anything. And look, I don't want to blow my own trumpet or something. I think one thing is that Klopp's really done well is that he has an established team, he has an established system, and he augments that and adds to it with players that are not necessarily the highest rated, but either way, and maybe when they leave Liverpool, they won't, ultimately they may end up going downhill a little bit, but the collective is the most important thing, and United right now have zero collective teamwork. And
So let me, yeah. In my opinion, it's all about getting the right player to the right system. So you can go to Southampton now and you get Saliso from, for example, or you get Vestergaard last year from Southampton. You are a team, you're a big team, top six, someone like Arsenal or something like this, or something like Man City. You're getting the player that fits your system. You play high line. When Maguire was good at Leicester, if you look at their stats, they are a 50-50 team in ball position. That means the guy used to defend under pressure from teams. Yes, he might be the guy that gets 5 blocks like Tarkovsky, but will Tarkovsky be as good in a team that has 60-70% ball position every game? Maybe not, because he's not used to it. And I think it's all about same. You're getting someone like Sancho playing Borussia Dortmund, who are a counter-attacking team. We saw Sancho this year every time Man United playing the counter, he looked okay. He looked like some sort of the guy that we see in Dortmund. But Man United are a team that want to create this philosophy that we want to have the ball. It's the same as Arsenal getting a defender that cannot play from the back, while Arteta, all his philosophy, let's build, let's go from the back, and he gets a player that just plays under pressure. I think Man United went for the names instead of just going for the right player to get them the right system. Like Aaron Wan-Bissaka was one of the greatest players in defensively, just tackles, blocks, preventing crosses. But then he goes to Man United and he finds himself like, I need to attack, I need to cross. But he didn't used to do that for Crystal Palace. It was just a low block under Roy Hodgson and just defend. So he looked great, stats looked great, but then he comes to Man United and it doesn't work. What do you guys think about, like, just go for the names, the biggest names, instead of just going for the right name?
Look, it's a funny one, because I think on paper you would say Varane is a big name, but he's also a very good player, and I think he's plenty got the flexibility to play in almost any system. You look at Sancho, you think he's a young player. Maybe it will take him some time to settle, but the talent is undoubtedly there. He's proved it over the last 3 years or something in Germany. And I know people talk about Bundesliga tax and stuff, and maybe there is a little bit of that, but he's also a young player. You think give this guy time, and he has the potential to reach the very top in the game. But at the same time, you need someone to bring all these players together, and that's both in terms of a system, but also harmony within the club. This is something Egal talked about. The chemistry, the harmony, the team ethic. Everyone needs to be working and fighting for each other, and it just seems like we don't know if there's cliques. I don't like saying there's cliques in the dressing room and stuff, because we're not there. We don't know, so I don't want to preempt that. But it just seems like there's no togetherness there, because when the shit hits the fan, it seems like United players they're not up for the fight.
Egal, should Man United go and get a manager now? Because apparently, this is my understanding, this guy Rajnik is not a manager. He is a guy that goes up, fixes your club, raises the value of your club, gets your assets high, sells your players for expensive money, and gets the system going. He's not actually a tactician. Should they go and get a manager now? And is this season savable for them?
The season is definitely savable, but the question is not if they get a manager. Can they find the right manager right now from people that are available? Realistically, there's not a lot of managers with big names or that can handle big egos that are available. They're going to have to take a gamble on somebody that's lesser or somebody who is currently out of a job. Brendan Rodgers is not coming right now. He's not leaving Leicester to come to Manchester.
What about Zinedine Zidane again? Why nobody talks about Zidane?
Zidane has made it clear that he does not want to join the Premier League, and at this moment in time, he doesn't. He recently spoke about Manchester United, and he said that he doesn't view them as a good option. So I personally think at this moment in time, if they were to get somebody, Zidane would not be on the option, one of their options. They would have to look at like somebody like a Valverde or somebody who's out of a job that's recently been taken out of a job in the Premier League that is decent. But I don't think there's anybody available from the current managers that are free agents that are not in a job that Manchester United would consider. So they've used Ralf Rangnick as a stopgap until the end of the season. The question is, can Ralf Rangnick turn it around? I don't think so, because there's no respect. There seems to be no respect that he's gauging from the team. It's not clicking for them. And when they had a good run of games, they've only picked up 17 points from 11 games?
Bruno's saying Ranier.
Imagine going for Watford for Man United.
It's a joke.
Anyway, no,
it's a joke. He's taunting Man United. He's not. He's a City fan. Bruno. Bruno gets our weekly catch-up episodes. He's the host. He's a City fan. Anyway, we gotta move on from Man United because
do we have to? Can't we just talk about them?
I'll just say this. Manchester United have too many problems for any manager to come in mid-season and fix.
It's true.
Ronaldo
Yes.
is a problem. Defensively, they have problems. Midfield, they have problems. Attacking wise, they have problems. Dressing room, they have problems. And overall cohesion throughout the whole squad is a problem. So that's
Yeah.
seven
I have
problems.
a very easy solution. Just sit back and play on the counter. You will get definitely you will get more points than trying to attack and get exposed in the back with Maguire and
So
Shaw. And this is just
you
some
can't sit. You
managers
can't sit
fix
back
the
against a
system.
team. You can't sit back against a team that doesn't give you that doesn't want to be on the ball. If you play
Apparently, even
Burnley, you
Egal,
can't sit
apparently
back.
even Burnley wants to attack now. Apparently, even Burnley, they want to go forward now. Apparently, the stats show that Burnley in the last 10 games created more chances than the last 2 years or something like this. It's just they want to
You
go
can't.
forward for some
You,
reason.
you cannot sit back if you're Manchester United at Old Trafford.
Ego wise, you're talking about big club, they can't just sit back.
They cannot sit back at Old Trafford.
Hmm. Fans will get on their back. Anyway, we got to move on from this Man United, and it's because I think it's a bigger issue than a manager. It's collectively getting the wrong names a year after a year after a year without any like like any idea about what are we gonna do. Keep changing managers from this to that, from Mourinho to Oli to now Rajnik. Everybody has a different system, and apparently this is not gonna be fixed soon unless something dramatically happen at the club. Man City. Anybody has anything to say about Man City, who's beating Norwich at Norwich, having 75% of the ball position and created 12 chances, 8 of them on target, dangerous. They could have won like 9 or something
Let me
like
ask you
this.
this: if Manchester City, what would it take for them to derail their season? What would they need to happen to derail their season? Because in my opinion, Man City have one of the deepest squads when it comes to talent, not squad depth, talent like on in the team. So what would it take for them to drop off?
Drop off is difficult because I don't think they're likely to lose enough players where they're having to play their maybe third choice or third choice attacker or their fourth choice centre back. I think they'll rotate when they need to rotate, and I think Pep will control that. The only real option is if we as in Liverpool can cut the gap to maybe 4 points or even 3 points. If they have, they lost against Crystal Palace at home, right? I understand City had a man sent off, but if something like that happens and Liverpool go into the City game 3 points behind, stranger things have happened. Like, don't get me wrong, City are favourites. City are a great team. They have some incredible players. They play brilliant football. They have a great manager. So I'm not going to downplay that. But if we can get close, that's the only thing we can do. We can get close and we can put some pressure on them. Will they still come through? Probably. But the only way to find out is if we can keep putting pressure and hope they slip.
I think City's system is the best for leagues in the history of the sport, to be honest. And let me tell you why. Because someone said it, and I'm just quoting somebody, to be honest. They said it on one of the podcasts. They said, Guardiola assumes that all the team don't have the quality to bypass the press. But every time they play, sometimes most of the time when they play big teams and they have the quality to bypass the press, they go and create a chance on Manchester City. The problem is in any league, you will only have 2 3 teams that has this quality to bypass his press and the way he gets the ball. So he doesn't give the ball to the other team at all unless they actually can bypass his press, pass the ball around to get to the wings. And that doesn't happen over 38 games. That happened only in 5 6 games the whole year. This is why Man City control most of the games. Even when Man City is 1-0 up, you're never in doubt. You think there is an 80 to 90% chance they're going to win this game. Liverpool's press, on the other hand, can be bypassed. For some reason, in any game, I think Liverpool fans get off their seat more often than City fans. I feel City fans watching the games are very relaxed. They're watching the game knowing that they're gonna win. If they tie or lose, it is something that should not have happened. It's a fluke, and this is why I think for leagues, Pep Guardiola's system is the best in the history of football, but also the worst for fans because nobody watches Man City if you're not a Man City fan because you know what is the outcome. You know how the game is gonna go. You know who's gonna have the ball. You know that the other team might not have chances at all. So I think this is amazing system. This is why he wins the league, but might not win the Champions League unless still again something happens. But like other teams when he played against Chelsea, a mistake goal, he didn't create a lot of chances. The year before the same. So I think Pep Guardiola is one of the best managers in history to create a system that will win the league. I didn't like as a fan. I don't like that system because it takes the fun out of football. But the system is not. It's some kind of flawless in an 18 in a 38 games because the numbers don't lie. He wins the league. I know he gets a lot of players, but the system works. Igal does it. You don't agree with this?
I don't think you can say he has created the best system in football history. Let's be honest. Everything he's taking, he's implementing parts of other people's systems. And yes, he has adapted to it and made it look good. But I feel like what he's doing right now is not the best in football history. That's kind of over exaggerating a little bit. I'm not going to be able to give you better examples at the moment off the top of my head, but I'm going to say football evolves. What he's doing right now is working very, very well. And a lot of people are trying to adjust themselves to the game. But what I think he has is he's found the perfect cohesion of a club that is willing to back him fully and let him have full autonomy so he can do everything and implement his system. And also he has the quality of players in the right time in their career to make these things happen. If Pep Guardiola had the quality of Arsenal's players, he would not be winning the league, even with the system. So Absolutely. It's not down to the system. It's down to a cohesion of the system and the players that he has. If you say the system alone, then you could put any player and he would win. No, that is not reality. Take him right now, put him in Liverpool. They play completely different. Yes, he would do well with Liverpool. But take him right now and put him in Burnley, put him at Tottenham, put him at Tottenham. They will not win nothing. He cannot get Eric Dyer. He cannot get Eric Dyer and these guys to play the style of football they play.
But you forget something, Egal. Guys, you forget something. You forget that most of these players, he made them. He actually, you guys like looking at the recent history and how they bought players. They bought like Jack Grealish and all these people. He bought Riyad Mahrez, yes. But he made John Stones. John Stones was okay in Everton. He made him a good defender. Diaz, where did Diaz play before? Benfica. He brought Diaz and made him one of the best defenders in the league.
Diaz was highly, Diaz was
his
not
system... His system work. What I mean is he made Pedro a great forward. To be honest, with Barcelona, he made him amazing. I think I agree with what you say. He needs the right players, but that's also part of him implementing the right parts. Getting someone like Rodri. Why did he choose Rodri? There was many defensive midfielders around the world. He chose Rodri to replace Fernandinho. It is something that he makes he implements players. He puts players in the right place. I just think I'm not a City fan and I don't like the way he manages games because it ruins it for me. But I see him making superstars. He makes superstars, in my opinion. He makes these players worth double what they actually are.
I mean, look, I don't agree with that. Shout out Neeks. So Neeks wants a title race, but he still wants us to lose. So fair enough. Look, all the players that he's made, they're already highly talented. I mean, even your Diaz and stuff. Well, Diaz was £60 million. Your KDB, for example, was already a world-class player by the time he arrived. He had a title-winning squad that he'd taken over from Pellegrino. So Pellegrini, sorry. So he's obviously puts his own mark on it, his own tactics. Don't get me wrong, I'm more of a football purist. So if you say what kind of football style do I like, the best team I ever saw play football was Pep's Barcelona team. And to be fair, Luis Enrique's Barcelona team, that the Barcelona team in that era was absolutely incredible.
I like that team more than Pep because it was more fun for me. Pep's game was boring if you're not a Barca fan. It's like exactly that Barcelona are gonna win. It's good in highlights. You know what I mean? When you watch the highlights after the game, great football, like this back heels, this tiki-taka. But during the game, as a fan, I wouldn't want to watch the game that I know 95% that is gonna win.
But this is the thing. So I did like it. And if you ask me what style of football do I prefer, Jurgen Klopp's style of football or Pep's, I'd probably say I prefer Pep's style of football marginally. I think they both have their own qualities, but the quick passing game, keeping possession has always been a style that I've kind of like. Now we play. I mean, there are some similarities, but there are some major differences between the way that Klopp plays and the way that Pep plays. But I mean, they're both incredible managers and they play incredible football. But as it sounds a bit weird, but I'd say I'm a bit of a football purist, so I like the way that Pep's teams play.
So since we're talking about Klopp, I'm gonna ask Egal, why Liverpool against Burnley kept Burnley in the game for 90 minutes, and why we don't feel that with City. Burnley stayed in the game for 90 minutes. They could have scored a goal, one cross, and it was 1-1. Title is over. While City, they don't do that. Even though Rakesh is saying that Liverpool, Klopp is a great manager. He is a great manager. He made Salah who he is now. Salah came from Roma. He was not Salah that we see now. He made Mane amazing. The system works. Trent, all this stuff. But why, from your footballing opinion, why Liverpool do not put teams away? You know what it is in football. Like you kill off the game. The team has no chance. The game is over. You're just playing your game.
I think that is a false premise because Liverpool do put teams away. More times than none. They do have tight games also, but the thing is, Liverpool's system is not specifically on continuous is about continuous relentless pressure to eventually break through. It's not about being cutthroat and constantly getting 4 or 5 goals. They don't constantly get 4 or 5 goals. More of Liverpool's games are win the game, and then that's it. Wrap it up, go home. They care about winning more than the stylistic part. They care more about getting the 3 points than grinding it out, grinding out a 1-0 or grinding out a 2-0 more than finishing a game 5-4-0. Klopp is not going to be upset at the end of the day if they go home with the 1-0. Realistically, that is my approach to what Liverpool does. But when it comes to Liverpool dominating games and beating teams, I'm pretty sure they've done that a lot this season, if I'm not mistaken. I've seen a lot of games where they dominated teams, and if you just look back over the past couple of weeks, let me do this quickly. You can see they beat Brentford 3-0. They beat, what do you call it? Who was it? The other just a couple weeks back, Newcastle 3-1. They do slap teams. They beat Everton 4-1. They beat Southampton 4-0.
They kept Newcastle in the game until the 89th minute. Newcastle
they
were
beat
in the
Arsenal 4-0, Southampton 4-0, and Everton 4-1 in a span of 3 weeks after beating Porto 2-0. So they do put teams to sword. It's just right now, a lot of their best players like Mo Salah and Mane are coming back from AFCON. And of course, this game, they need time to get back together and gel again.
Makes sense. Rakesh, I know that you're a Liverpool fan, so probably your testimony here is a little bit biased. But is Henderson done?
Best.
Like
the best.
No. Jordan Henderson. Is this guy? Does he have a footballing rule, still to play, or he's done? Because I see a lot of tweets that we want him out of the club, blah blah blah. However, before the season, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, everybody begged Liverpool to give him a new contract.
So Henderson, I mean, I'm not sure about at the start of the season, because the problem is that at the end of last season, for a lot of last season, he was injured. He's been injured in periods at this season. I'm concerned. I'm quite concerned about his form. I don't think he's been very good since maybe the start of last season, and certainly not very good consistently. He's performed well in some games, but at the start of the season, Harvey Elliott came in and showed us, what a gifted, smart, intelligent footballer he is. And I think, it's something our midfield lacks sometimes. Don't get me wrong, Jordan Henderson's intensity when he's on form is a valuable asset. But for example, in yesterday's game, when Thiago came on for Henderson, that was the point at which we just controlled the game so much better. But Burnley, I don't think had a decent chance after that. And then at that point, when you're controlling the game, you can create half chances, opportunities here and there, and we created a few, and we didn't take them, but if you have a situation where you have a Harvey Elliott and a Thiago, I think talent wise they're superior to Henderson. Intensity is important as well, but I think the intensity has been lacking recently, and I think that's a concern.
So Egal, is Liverpool gonna what's considered failure? You are not like you're not a Liverpool fan. So what's
not winning the
considered
league,
failure
or
for them?
not winning the league or Champions League. Sorry, I just needed to cut you off right now. If Liverpool don't win the league or the Champions League, for me, this season has been a failure for them.
I agree.
That's it.
I agree. One.
Oh my.
Yeah, look, I said at the start of the season, if we don't win the league or we don't win the Champions League, this season's a failure. Look, if we don't win either of those, look, we pick up 1 or 2 cups, that softens the blow. But neither of those things makes the season a failure, a success. Success is winning the league or winning the Champions League. I think we're a team that's capable of doing that, and if we don't do it, unfortunately, it is what it is.
To be honest, now after Luis Diaz, you invested enough to should be in the league. It's not about that. It's about Konate. It's about Konate. It's about Luis Diaz. I think these players, if you spend 100 million over a squad that is already very strong, you should be competing with the league. And this is why Chelsea fans, and we're not here to talk about Chelsea because they were in the Club World Cup, but if you're gonna spend 100 million pounds on a striker, you should be higher than when you are right now. It's as simple as that. It's a I don't know if it's a scouting problem, whatever, it's a system, whatever thing. He's a flop at Chelsea, Lukaku, and this is why I think Liverpool. You spend 50 million on Konate as a defender, and
no, 35, I think it was 35, 38.
35 million pounds. Oh yeah. And Luis Diaz, you should be competing for the league. I would not consider this a failure for Liverpool if you come at the end of the season with 3 points or 2 points off City, even though nobody remembers second places. If you go to the final and lose the Champions League, this is not a failure. This is just my opinion, but some Liverpool fans say what you just said.
But this is the thing, it's all about context, right? Look, City are a great, great team. One of the best teams in Premier League history, I think, at least in recent years. They play exceptional football. They're right up there. I still think if we don't win it and they beat us to it, it's still a failure. But I'm not going to be here saying Klopp out or any of this other kind of nonsense. I'm not going to be shouting and screaming. I'm going to say, look, I'll shake their hands. I'll say, look, well done, City, and I don't think we should be more than kind of 5 or 6 points behind City because I think we've got it in us to kind of narrow that gap. And because I think that there's a little difference between the two, but who made the best team win?
Before we move on to Igal's favorite team to talk about, Spurs, I just wanted to show you guys this. He said that people say that Busquets, Pedro, Boyan, and Piqué, they were not as good as they think. To be honest with you guys, I watched Iniesta and Xavi during record season, the record season before Pep. They were not the same midfielders.
No, but yeah, but Busquets was a very young player, highly talented. Iniesta had played in the Youth World Cup and was player of the tournament. Xavi was already established in Rijkaard's team. I mean, like warming the bench. Okay, it depends how you define warming the bench, but I don't think anybody was looking at those 3 players and saying that these players aren't exceptionally talented. Yeah, they came through. They really came through and went to the next level under Pep. I agree, but I don't know. Busquets is arguably the greatest defensive midfielder in history. I don't think you can put that all on Pep.
Well, no, but I've seen better, but fine.
No.
In my opinion, there's like Patrick Vieira, Roy Keane, these guys.
But what Busquets does on the ball.
The difference is there is a difference between you play for Arsenal and when you don't have the ball all the time and you don't have Lionel Messi on your team. Lionel Messi makes everybody around him, makes the game easier for everybody. And as prime, it is so easy to play when you have Lionel Messi, who gets you out of trouble most of the time. But anyway, I want to move on from City because this is a totally different discussion. And I want to have some people to talk about Pep, to be honest, because it's the most controversial coach in the history of the game. A lot of people think this guy is the genius. He's the best thing that ever happened to football. And other people say it's a fraud. It's a lot of people talk about Pep being a fraud. He buys his players. A lot of people, you'd be surprised, Rakesh, about people. A lot of people talk about that. Anyway, favorite team for you, Egal. You have the floor. Tottenham 2, Wolves. Tottenham 0, Wolves 2. A terrible game by Hugo Louise. A terrible game by most of the Tottenham team who are not good enough to do anything. Is this team done? Is Conte made the wrong choice by joining this club? Did he not know what he's signing up for? What happened? This guy was a top manager. He's almost losing his hair that he He did a hair implant some years ago, and now he's losing it again.
First things first. Hugo Lloris had one of the biggest shockers in a long time. The only worst thing you could do is put the goal in the back of your net yourself. He does not come to collect the ball. He is not good on his feet. He's a good shot stopper on his day, but even when you stop the shots, you have to be able to either collect the ball and catch it or punch it out of your way so it doesn't come back to you. What he continuously did was it kept coming back to him. And in my opinion, he was completely having one of the worst games I've seen in a long time for any goalkeeper. That was one of the worst performances of a goalkeeper in a long, long time. And that was terrible from him. Two, why are we surprised? What Tottenham have is a poor squad, a good attack because they have two really, really good players in Son and Harry Kane. Son gets injured, their goals start drying up. They cannot get that second dynamic player to get them out of trouble. And Harry Kane has been missing this whole entire season. Antonio Conte is taking a job that has lower expectations than what he actually believed coming into it. I genuinely do believe he thought coming into Tottenham, his expectations were one day to challenge, to win the league. No.
He literally said that, by the way. He literally said that.
No, his expectation when he comes to Tottenham is to compete for top four, and that's it. He is never going to win the league at Tottenham. They're never going to back him financially to the level that he thinks. And the two players that they signed in the January window to improve their squad are nowhere to the level at this moment in time. They need to gel. They need to get used to the Premier League. And by the time they do that, they probably will be headed back to Juventus.
Juventus, yeah, for sure.
So I think it's been a waste of a time. I think they've absolutely wasting Antonio Conte's time, and he is losing his hair from Felicia. Basically, the stress is causing a man who did a hair transplant to lose his hair. I'm not even blaming.
He thought that Inter was stressful, to be honest with you. The guy thought that Inter was stressful. He didn't know what he signed up for. Rakesh, why is Antonio Conte changing his plan? We all know Antonio Conte plays 3-5-2. Why does he go to 3-4-3? Why?
I don't know, man. Personnel, perhaps. It was a bit puzzling, to be honest. I don't want to avoid the question, but I just want to back up what Egal said about Hugo Louise. Hugo Louise, I don't know, because I hear a lot of Tottenham fans gassing him up. The man, he's been very, very dodgy for about 3 years now. Like, I wouldn't trust him as a goalkeeper. He's capable of moments of brilliance, and he's capable of moments of absolute ridiculousness. And I think as a goalkeeper, you need to have some degree of stability. And I don't think that stability is in Hugo Lloris's vocabulary. And look, they have a mishmash of a squad. Romero, I haven't seen enough of him, but from what I gather, Romero is supposed to be pretty good. But he's come off an injury. He needs time to acclimatize, perhaps. They have good players in certain positions, but then they have absolute dross. I mean, I won't go as far as Sam earlier on today saying that 15 of their players are championship level players, but some of them
started like
that was a bit of an epic one. But some of the players are definitely substandard, and I mean you'll know better than us, Mo, with obviously seeing his time at Inter, but whether he is sending out a message to the Tottenham board or not. But it seems it's ominous. It's ominous for Tottenham, because if you're going to get him in, then you may as well back him for a season. He's only going to have a season left at the end of this season. So see what happens. But he's going to need some. There's going to need major surgery on that squad.
He did this with Chelsea a little bit when he wanted to accommodate Pedro and Willian with Diego Costa and Hazard. He played three up top. It didn't work. He dropped Willian and Pedro and played Hazard off Diego Costa because they had Fabregas and they had Matic in the midfield. And then they had Conte. And one time he dropped Conte and played Fabregas and Matic. It didn't work. He went back to Conte, Fabregas, and Matic. It's kind of strange that he's trying to accommodate playing Son, Moura, and Kane together. It doesn't work. Pressure is off. Attacking is off. Midfield is exposed. Everything is just not working. It's not a team that will go and win anything, to be honest with you. Not even compete for top four. That brings me to Arsenal. Egal, are you in the driving seat for this top four position?
We are the favorites for top four. And anybody who tells me different, they are lying to themselves. We are currently the favorites for top four. We have games in hand, which I don't like. I would rather have the points on the board. I think that's more important. But what we do have is we have other teams going into their tougher runs. We have a more cohesive unit of players than Tottenham and Manchester United. We currently have a manager who is been with the club longer and understands the players. We have players who he has signed and a better defense than all of them. We have a goalkeeper who's on form. We have a defense that is on form. We have a poor midfield and a poor attack in comparison to Manchester United and Tottenham's attacks and midfield. But what we do have is we have the cohesion and we have the locker room fighting in the right direction. So I personally think, based on everything that I've just mentioned, we are the favorites. And if we lose, it's only ourselves to blame, nobody else.
So currently you are favorite, but were you favorite a month ago?
No. I mean, at the start of the season, correct me if I'm wrong, at the start of the season, I think maybe some people may have thought you finished fourth, but I think even fifth would have been considered a decent season and progress, with a view to perhaps making the step. Just because, Man United invested like over 100 million, Chelsea invested over 100 million, City invested over 100 million, and even though we only invested in Konate, we had Van Dijk coming back and stuff like that. We already had a pretty well established team and squad. I think top four seemed like a very distant possibility for Spurs, and for Arsenal. But to give credit to Arsenal, look, there's been a couple of bumps along the road, even like a month ago or a few weeks ago, when the whole stuff was around the Carabao Cup was going on, you dropped a few points. But Arsenal seem to be the only team right now that are playing with any degree of cohesion. And, even though I think getting rid of some of the deadwood, because bear in mind, it was all pretty much deadwood. So a lot of people are going to complain, say, oh, you let Aubameyang go. But when Aubameyang was out of the team, Arsenal were playing better. And look, if Arsenal get an injury to one of the forwards, either a Lacazette or even one of the three playing behind him, it's going to be difficult. But Arsenal only have one game a week; they have plenty of time to train. With a bit of luck, I think they are. Well, I think they're favourites, and with a bit of luck, I mean, I would like them to get top four, to be honest, because I don't like Man United and Spurs. Meh.
Egal, would you like? The only thing that I would say about Arsenal, some Arsenal fans told me that they didn't want to get top four because that means Arteta stays, and they think that Arteta is only a top four manager. And I'm just quoting people. They say that they want a bigger manager to develop these players and to attract bigger names to the club. They say that the problem with the names is that Arteta is not attractive enough for players to come in. And they say, if we were willing to invest 50, 60 million in a striker, but he didn't come because of a big manager, it's still going to be the same problem next year if your manager is here. And the problem is, if you make top four, you will keep the same manager because it's a successful season. What do you say about this? Like, I want you to give me your thoughts about this trail of like things that I heard lately from Arsenal fans when you became favorite for top four.
We became favorites for top four now that Manchester United have come out of their good run and they are losing games. Tottenham went from having less games than us the whole time to now having equal amount of games, and we're still above them in the league by 3 points. So that is where I gauge myself right now. Manchester United currently have 2 games ahead of us, and we're only 1 point behind them. And they are currently coming into a bad run of games where they're going to be facing Atletico Madrid, Liverpool, Man City, and the likes of those teams, where Arsenal are going to be now going into a little bit of easier run. But at the same time, we do have games in hand, which I don't like. And also, defensively, we have the best defense out of all of those teams. We have the 3rd best defense in the league. We've conceded a fair amount of goals, but we have the 3rd most clean sheets this season. And what I would say to you is the best teams have better defenses, and I do believe I can depend on my defense, unlike Tottenham depending on theirs or Manchester United depending on theirs. They both teams have pieces in their defense, but they don't have a complete defense, where my back four plus the goalkeeper I can trust week in, week out, where you cannot say the same about Manchester
Would you
United.
trust the manager, though? Would you trust your manager?
Listen, you can always question the manager, but at this moment in time, he's earned enough respect from me where until the end of the season, I'll fully be behind the team. But I still question if he's the right guy to win us major honors.
He is the right guy. So if you make top four, you would not want a bigger manager to come to your club.
Of course, I would if Ten Hag was available to come tomorrow, I would take him. But the thing is, at this moment in time, I have to be realistic. Arteta's doing well. I fully am behind what the club is doing and the direction they're currently in. And if he can get us into a top four at the end of the season, he has gotten all the respect from me. And I currently do believe we're going to get it. But I'm going to wait until the end of the season to cast my judgment on the manager again. I currently believe it's counterproductive to talk about him too much at this moment in time.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, it's not worth talking about either way because he's not going anywhere. So, given the end of the season, even if Arteta gets top four, even the idea of getting Ten Hag for me is strange because, like, Ten Hag, don't get me wrong, he's done well in the Eredivisie, but if you've got a manager who's fully in tune with the way that the club operates already, has helped to build half of the squad, has taken the club beyond what reasonable expectations were at the start of the season, I think that he deserves to stay on. And look, if Klopp's obviously not going to be available, if you have a genuine world-class manager who's won silverware, and that's a different story. But Ten Hag comes with his question marks. So and Arteta has question marks. So you're swapping one manager with question marks for another. So I wouldn't even consider Ten Hag, to be honest. I would give Arteta the rest of the season. Hope if he gets top four, give him a new contract because I think that's what he would deserve. Give him a new transfer window. See what kind of quality he can bring in along with the recruitment guys. Arsenal had a successful window last summer. If they have a successful window in the next summer, then it suggests that the quality and the targets they're buying has improved, because one of the things that Arsenal have been criticised for in recent years is recruitment. Buying the wrong players, maybe over the hill. Buying players who haven't got any resale value. So these are things you need to do to help you elevate your club. This is the stage. I think we've talked about it in the past, right? Some Arsenal fans have said the kind of model you want to try and follow, or you're trying to follow, is like the Liverpool model. And these are things that we had luck along the way as well. But I think that's the right thing to do for any club that has to run on a sustainable model, a self-sustaining model. That's your only option. That's the only chance, because you're not going to be able to bid £100 million for Jack Grealish, because we don't have 100 million for Jack Grealish.
Before we move on from Arsenal, I want to tell you the experience. Inter Milan had a coach called Spalletti. If you guys know Spalletti, he got us to top four in the last day. The club sacked him right away. After he got us top four, and we didn't make Champions League for 8 years. He got us top four. We made it and then he got a Champions League. What the club thought, the management thought, is exactly this. You got us top four, that's your ceiling. Goodbye, thank you so much for your service. They hired Conte. We finished 6 points behind Juve. We went to the Europa League final. The year after, we won the league right away. The guy created trouble, but that's what you get. Even if Arteta makes top four, in my opinion, from something I lived as an Inter fan, if they get a top manager, he might take them to the next level. Now, this is Arteta's. I know he's a young manager and he has a lot of potential and stuff, Arteta, but I still think that Arteta has a lot to learn. And I know he worked with the squad and he built these players, but I think you get top four, now it's time to move to the next level. Now it's time to get someone. I'm not sure who's going to be in the market. You never know what's going to happen at the end of the season. You never know what's going to happen. There might be a big name available at the end of the season. It might be Allegri. It might be someone who can win silverware. You know what I mean? You don't know. But I think if Arsenal make top four, for their sake to go back to being the top team that challenge for the title, go deep in Champions League, they need someone with a winning mentality. Someone will teach these players that winning silverware is the target, not making top four. This is just my opinion. And I'm not sure if Ten Hag is the right man. As you said, is being successful in the Eredivisie doesn't mean he's going to be successful in the Premier League. But this is my thought coming from someone who I wanted Antonio Conte, even though he was from Juventus before ex-Juventus. I knew that we would win something.
I mean, Conte said, right? Conte said he's a serial winner. So he'd won the Premier League. He'd won Serie A three times
with Juventus.
Yeah, and then obviously with Chelsea. So that, I think that's a little, and he was obviously also familiar. Italy's his home league. He was familiar with it. Like, I'm trying to think. I wouldn't even consider Allegri, to be honest.
I'm just giving an example, Rakesh. I'm giving an example of someone who won silverware. To be just someone in the market who won silverware. It doesn't have to be him.
I mean, I would say if Arsenal were going to upgrade manager, and I mean, like I said, Klopp or Pep, obviously they're not going to be available. But someone of that ilk, but there aren't that many. So in that case, he's already there. He's already recruited like these guys.
What are we discussing now? Because I'm confused.
No, yeah.
But anyway, we won't be beside the point because I was thinking about the management and changing management.
Muddin, let me tell you, Moamen, there's no need to be discussing Mikel Arteta in 2022 February. We can discuss him at the end of the season. At this moment in time, there is no need. The club is not sacking him. We are not in a position where you can say he's underachieving. We are currently in a top 4 battle. It is counterproductive to constantly discuss the manager when we are doing well. At this moment in time, are we favorites for top 4? Yes. Can you say can you say wholeheartedly we are going to get it? Possibly. You cannot say it 100% we're going to get it because we still mathematically have not gotten top 4 yet. And when it comes to everybody else around us, Manchester United have problems. Tottenham have problems. You look at Arsenal, our problems, I would say, are the least of them. And West Ham, I still feel like they're going to drop off a cliff when it comes to Europe. So we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, moving on from the top teams and then just to spend some minutes on the relegation battle and the Newcastle, the new Man City that is coming. Okay, genuinely, guys, do you really think that the Man City experience can be redone with this Newcastle team? It's just a simple thing that a lot of people talk about it. Egal, go ahead.
Can be done.
Like that, can they redo the Man City experience again? Buy players, 110%.
Be a big 110% they could redo it, but the question is, how long will it take them, in my opinion? Because financially, they have the clout to do whatever they want to do. And it's shown that if you have the financial backing, eventually you can do well. Look at every major club in world football. When they get financial backing, usually it goes well, or they something goes wrong and the owner ends up selling and they go into liquidation. So it could go 2 ways. But in my opinion, with the financial clout that these owners have, they makes them the richest club in football. And from that, you will have to wait and see. I genuinely do believe it will take them 5 to 7 years to build it, and possibly in 10 years' time, they will be as good as the Man City.
Whoa.
Yeah. Look, Newcastle are coming, and to coin a phrase from Marvel movies, they are inevitable, but it's not going to be easy, and it's going to be much more difficult for them than it was for City, because the other clubs are going to make it difficult. One of the things that they've just brought in within the Premier League is they want all sponsorship deals to be ratified by a neutral board assembled of Premier League, and they will benchmark them against other sponsorship deals that are anything over £1 million. So they will be benchmarked against other sponsorship deals to represent fair value. Now, this is kind of like the part of the Premier League's own internal like financial fair play, and part of the reason for this, the only team that voted against this or abstained was Manchester City. So Newcastle voted against it, City voted against it, and all the other clubs, they voted for it. Why? I think it's obvious, because they wanna slow down this juggernaut that's coming. But eventually they will be there or thereabouts. But it's going to be more difficult, and it's going to take them more time.
No, I think it's something of the beauty in the Premier League that I grew up when City were not a team that would do anything, challenge anything. I'm old enough to see City not even play in the Premier League. And the thing is, this is something that doesn't happen anywhere else. It just doesn't happen. Even Paris Saint-Germain, when they fell, they had a lot of fan base and stuff like this. But I'm talking about like the Bundesliga, La Liga, Serie A. It doesn't happen. But if Newcastle can do it, I know a lot of people talk about human rights and not human rights. Whatever. City did it. It's the same thing. And I will applaud them, and I will say good for them. I don't care what they do, to be honest, because a lot of teams did it. Now when Newcastle want to do it, it's bad. You allowed it before, so I would say just allow it again. But are we sure that Newcastle are going to stay in the league? This is number one.
Yeah, they'll be okay now. They've won 3 games in a row. They've strengthened the squad, and they'll have momentum now. They're not going to go down. I'm not sure where they'll finish, but it's not going to be in the bottom three.
Egal, do you think Everton can be dragged into this thing? Brentford, Leeds can be dragged because Everton played well. Don't get me wrong; they played well against Leeds. Leeds were atrocious in the game, to be honest. But do you think any of them can be dragged into these bottom three teams?
Look, Burnley is getting relegated. Norwich is getting relegated. Watford's getting relegated, in my opinion. I don't think Everton, Leeds, Newcastle are getting dragged into this. Norwich are not getting out of relegation. Their whole model is to go up and go down. Watford, in my opinion, they don't know what they're doing. They continuously sack their managers every 2 months, and it doesn't get them in any better position. They are a club that is in limbo. And Burnley, in my opinion, thank God they you know what? Burnley is the only team that can get out of it. Burnley currently sit bottom of the league, 20th in the table, have 14 points, but they currently have only played 21 games. In comparison to West Ham, who's played 25, they've played 4 less games than some teams in this league. So if you actually look at the league table, you can see that Burnley could get out of it, but the team that would get into the most trouble if Burnley get out of it, in my opinion, would be Brentford. We are ignoring the fact that Brentford have been massively inconsistent. In their last 5 games, they've lost 4 and drawn 1, picking up 1 point in their last 5 games. Brentford have absolutely fallen off a cliff. And if anybody's going to get relegated, it's not Newcastle, it's not Everton, it's not Leeds. It's going to be Brentford, and the only team that would be possibly getting out of the bottom 3 right now is Burnley, and that is based on just looking at the league table and looking at the form of these teams. You can't tell me right now Newcastle is not going to be in amazing form. They haven't dropped points in their last 5. Everton, even though they've lost their last 4 games, they have a new manager and they have something going for them. And Leeds, they have the best player outside of the top 6 in Rafinha. They're not going anywhere.
Brilliant. 2 teams that I think one of them is doing really well this year. West Ham, again, punching above their weight, to be honest. If you look at the squad in the beginning of the season, everybody said that they might not be in where they are now. They say, yeah, it was a fluke 2 season, and then this is the 3rd season they're going to drop, but they're still there. They are still looking at everybody around them and say, how the hell did we get here? But we belong here now. We're going to play. They beat Chelsea. They beat Liverpool. So this team is not bad at all. But the other team that played them, Leicester, I think they have a really, really good squad. Brendan Rodgers is to blame for this form. There is no other question around it. He actually have really good squad. So tell me, the game is 2-2. It ended. If anybody didn't watch it, it's a great game with lots of chances here and there. But why is West Ham overperforming Leicester, having on paper a weaker squad?
Say it again. Repeat that one more time.
I guess because football. Go Mo.
Repeat
It's
it
a
one more
simple
time.
West Ham. On paper, beginning of the season, West Ham didn't have as strong of a squad like Leicester. Leicester invested in the summer. They have really good players. They brought players that supposedly fit the system. Ryan Bertrand and Vestergaard, they fit the system they wanted to play. But West Ham are outperforming Leicester by a mile here. Is that just directly a manager's problem?
Let me tell you this. The reason that it is the way it is not only down to the manager, but it's also down to public opinion being skewed. So originally, everyone's saying Leicester's competitive, Leicester's this, Leicester's that, not looking at Leicester's actual major issues, right? And why they continuously bottle top 4. Where West Ham, a team that also got into Europa League, also is getting further than Leicester in the Europa League, is not being looked at what they're actually doing well. What they've done well is they've realized they are not going to be competing with the rest of the top teams for quality talent. So what they did was they signed people who are underrated, like a Jared Bowen, like a Dawson. They have one of the best underrated strikers in Antonio, and they've built around that team. So West Ham, in my opinion, have just as good as a team as Leicester. It's just the names, the people on Leicester's team are bigger names. Jamie Vardy, Tillemans, Ndidi, they're bigger names in our opinions because they've been doing it for longer. But in my opinion, Declan Rice is the best player out of both teams, and he's better than any player on Leicester. So let's not lie to ourselves. Both teams are very comparable. It's just public opinion has now switched, and now people are starting to notice West Ham are actually good.
I think one of the players that Leicester really miss, and it was a disaster that he got injured, is Wesley Fofana. Because I think he had an absolutely brilliant season last year. Soyuncu a couple of seasons ago had a very good season, and he's dropped off a cliff this season. I don't know.
Johnny Evans, right?
Yeah,
Johnny
yeah.
Evans as well.
Yeah. I mean, I just think if I still think Soyuncu is talented, and if you had a Soyuncu Fofana partnership, I think that would have brought a lot of stability for a second season in a row. Two young central defenders, and they're both very talented. Soyuncu's quick, Fofana is quick. Fofana reads the game very well. I think he's very talented, and the fact that he's been missing the whole season has been a disaster. That doesn't mean that Leicester should be, I don't know, 11th or 12th or wherever they are in the league. They definitely shouldn't be that low, but it's a component. And West Ham looks slowly but steadily. They've recruited pretty well. You know, they've brought in players that maybe weren't fancied or weren't household names, and slowly but steadily built the team. They've developed a decent system. Antonio's no surprise, right? He's been in the Premier League for nearly 10 years now, but he's just one of these guys. They're getting the best out of him. Maybe not so much in recent games, but overall in the whole season, he's been one of their key players. Declan Rice is a very talented player, and they've just recruited well, and they're consistent. I don't think they're going to get top four as well. I agree with Gal. They're probably going to fall off, but they should be applauded because they've had a good season.
Last thing is Aston Villa and Brighton. Who do you think will take the next step next season? They have been playing okay now. Gerrard signed a lot of players, got a system working. Brighton, we know that they have a system working. Who do you think might take the next step to at least do the West Ham model of getting to top 6 Europe or top 8? Or we don't think any of them can actually do it?
Listen, everyone has to take their own approach, honestly. If you try to replicate other people's models, it doesn't always work. We've seen that with people trying to replicate Liverpool's model across Europe. We've seen that with people trying to replicate Leicester's model across Europe. There's no one way to win. Everybody has to find their own unique way to win, in my opinion.
Yeah. Look, I think Villa, from what I gather, I don't really know much about Villa, but from what I gather, they have an ownership group and structure that they want to invest. I think they want to back Gerrard. We saw some backing to a certain extent in this window just gone. Gerrard will have a degree of appeal. You know, obviously, that Coutinho will be interesting to see whether Coutinho stays or whether he will go to another club. Now he's back in the Premier League, showing that he can still do it in the Premier League. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody else came in and tried to beat Villa to the punch, but obviously Gerrard is there. I hope Gerrard does well. I hope Villa do well for obvious reasons as a Liverpool fan. But it's difficult to predict. I would say Villa just because I expect them to invest and I expect them to back Gerrard. But with that comes pressure. If Villa then don't perform, or Gerrard doesn't perform, or Gerrard goes in a bad run, he's going to be under pressure, and then we're going to see. I love Stevie. He's one of the club hero, but being a manager is different. You need to prove it when the going gets tough, and that's one of the risks.
That's it for today. I want to thank both my guests. We spent more than an hour. It's a great discussion with these guys. They know a lot of football. It's as you see, if you're watching this, this is just about the football, the Premier League. Every team here has a place with us. It is what it is. I know that people talk top 6, but it's every team's game because I have seen teams get relevant within 4 or 5 years, like City, like a lot of other teams, and I've seen teams get irrelevant and got dropped, like Leeds United. I grew up with Leeds, just used to be a big team, and then suddenly Leeds were not there, and now they're here again. So I want to thank Rakesh. Thank you so much for your second appearance. It was great having you here.
No problem, Mo. Thanks for having me on, man. It's always good. It's nice to have some football banter and chat on some channels, but it's also nice to kind of keep it football and obviously Egal is my guy. So it's not always good to be on a stream with him too. So yeah, all good, man. Thanks for having me on.
This is the first time I think I see Egal calm, talk all just football. He's not like onto somebody. He doesn't banter somebody. I want to thank you so much for the great addition you had. It's your first appearance here with us. It was absolutely phenomenal to have you on. I actually enjoyed every single minute with you. Thank you so much for coming.
No worries, my guy. No worries. Honestly, I can talk football, man. It's just a lot of people
No,
always
I knew that, but
a
I know
lot of
some
people
people just need it.
a lot of people always throwing salt, and I always find myself in a situation where I catch myself defending more than actually speaking about what's actually happening, because people constantly just want to ridicule and belittle everything happening at Arsenal. And you know what? Hey, if it happens, if you're gonna belittle everything happening at Arsenal, remember things when things are going your way, it's gonna come back to bite you. That's all I gotta say.
Absolutely, it's the same. I found myself in the same situation today where Hussam was just trying to get me upset in every single second of the show when we started talking about Champions League, about Inter. He kept trying to instigate me, and I'm like, I'm keeping it. I'm fine before the game. I'm not, because I'm not gonna just go into that fight with him, because I have seen Liverpool not being relevant and I have seen Inter not being relevant. It comes and goes, and we all know that it comes and goes.
Well, you know what? I think both Egal and I, we know Hussam quite well. I don't think actually he was doing anything to instigate you. I think he's just Hussam is a larger than life character, and
I love the guy. Don't get me wrong. I talk to the no. I love the guy. He's my friend. We talk outside of the show. It's just nothing. It has nothing to know. I didn't get upset at all. It's a way of everybody's way of doing things.
It was funny. I found it
I
very
love
funny.
the guy. I don't have anything but respect for us. I mean, he knows football. He knows his thing. It's just a way. He's very confident in his opinion, and it is what it is. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. Make sure to like the video and rate us on any platform, and we'll see you hopefully next week. Thank you so much.
Take care.